Hello, my friends. I'm Tom. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about another very useful book called Peak: Secrets from the New Science of Expertise. The authors are Andres Ericsson and Robert Poole. This book is about expertise. What does that mean? Expertise means being very, very good at something. An expert is not just someone who knows a little. An expert has deep skill. An expert can do things that look difficult to other people. An expert pianist can play music beautifully. An expert chess player can see patterns quickly. An expert doctor can notice small signs. An expert speaker can explain ideas clearly. An expert language learner can understand and use the language with confidence. The big question of this book is simple. How do people become experts? Many people think experts are born special. They think this person has talent. They think this person is gifted. They think this person was born with something I do not have. But this book explains that talent is not the whole story. Natural ability may help at the beginning, but it is not enough. What really matters is the way people practice. This is very good news. Why? Because if expertise is only talent, then most people cannot do much. If you are not born talented, you may feel hopeless. You may say, I cannot become good. But if expertise comes from the right kind of practice, then growth is possible. You can improve. You can become better. You can build skill step by step. The book says that people do not become excellent only by doing something for many years. This is important. Many people think, if I do something for a long time, I will automatically become great. But this is not always true. Someone may drive a car for 20 years, but they may not become a professional driver. Someone may speak their own language every day, but they may not become a great public speaker. Someone may teach for many years, but they may not automatically become an excellent teacher. So, time alone is not enough. Practice matters, but not every kind of practice creates deep improvement. This is one of the main lessons of the book. There is normal practice and there is deliberate practice. Deliberate practice means careful practice with a clear goal. It means you do not only repeat the same thing again and again. You practice one specific skill. You push yourself a little beyond your comfort zone. You get feedback. You correct mistakes. You repeat again. You keep improving small parts. This is very different from simple repetition. For example, imagine a language learner. They listen to English every day while doing something else. This is useful. It gives exposure. Exposure means contact with the language. But if they want to improve speaking, they also need focused speaking practice. They need to practice answering questions. They need to notice pronunciation. They need to repeat useful sentences. They need feedback. They need to speak, listen, correct, and try again. That is closer to deliberate practice. The book explains that experts do not only practice more, they practice differently. They practice with attention. They practice with a clear purpose. They practice the parts that are difficult. They do not only do what is easy and comfortable, they work on weaknesses. This can feel uncomfortable. Nobody loves feeling weak. Nobody loves seeing mistakes. But mistakes show us what to practice next. A mistake is not the end. A mistake is information. It says, look here, this part needs work. For English learners, this is powerful. If you cannot pronounce a sound, that sound is your practice area. If you cannot answer questions quickly, quick answers are your practice area. If you forget vocabulary when you speak, using vocabulary in sentences is your practice area. If listening is hard, slow listening and repeated listening are your practice area. Do not run away from the difficult part. The difficult part is often the door to improvement. This book also teaches us that the brain can change. When you practice in the right way, your brain builds better connections. Your mind creates better patterns. Your body learns better movements. Your ears become sharper. Your eyes notice more. Your hands become more controlled. Your voice becomes more confident. This is not magic, it is training. A beginner and an expert do not see the same thing. A beginner sees many separate pieces. An expert sees patterns. A beginner musician sees many notes. An expert musician hears meaning in the music. A beginner language learner hears a fast group of sounds. An advanced learner hears words, phrases, rhythm, and intention. A beginner chess player sees separate pieces. An expert chess player sees the whole pattern. Experts have strong mental pictures inside their minds. The book calls these mental representations. We will talk more about this later, but for now, you can think of a mental representation as an inner map, a map inside your brain. An expert has a better map. Because the map is better, they understand faster. They decide faster. They perform better. But this map is not born perfect. It is built through practice. This means your English map can become better. At first, English may feel like a big forest. You do not know where to go. You hear words, but they disappear quickly. You know grammar, but speaking is slow. But with repeated practice, your map becomes clearer. You recognize sentence patterns. You understand common phrases. You hear pronunciation more easily. You know how to begin an answer. You know how to continue. This is expertise growing. So the first message of this episode is simple. People become really good through the right kind of practice. Not only talent, not only time, not only motivation, the right practice. If you want to improve English, do not only ask, how long did I study? Ask, how did I practice? Did I focus? Did I repeat? Did I correct? Did I get feedback? Did I practice the part that is difficult? Did I return again tomorrow? These questions, my friends, matter. They are important. The book gives us hope, but also responsibility. Hope because we can improve. Responsibility because improvement needs real practice. We cannot only dream. We cannot only watch videos. We cannot only say, one day I will be good. We must practice in a better way. The good news is that practice can be small. You do not need to change everything in one day. Start with one skill, one sentence, one sound, one answer, one short conversation. Practice it carefully. Repeat it. Improve it. Expertise is not one big jump. Remember that. Expertise is not one big jump. Expertise is many small improvements repeated over time. Okay, now let's talk more about practice. Many people believe practice means doing the same thing again and again. And yes, repetition is important. Repetition helps the brain. Repetition makes things familiar. Repetition helps your body and mouth learn. But the book Peak explains that repetition alone is not enough. If you repeat something in the wrong way, you may only become better at doing it wrong. If you repeat a pronunciation mistake many times, the mistake becomes stronger. If you repeat unclear speaking habits, they become normal. If you always practice easy things, you may stay at the same level. So, the question is not only, do I practice? The better question is, what kind of practice am I doing? The book explains different kinds of practice. The first kind is simple practice. You do something again and again. For example, you play a song many times. You read a text many times. You listen to English many times. This can help, especially at the beginning. But after some time, simple practice may not be enough. The second kind is purposeful practice. Purposeful means it has a clear purpose. You know exactly what you want to improve. You are not just doing the activity. You are working on one part of the activity. For example, if you are learning English, you say, I will practice speaking. That is general. It is not very specific. But if you say, I will practice answering questions in the past tense, that is more specific. If you say, I will practice a specific sound in words like thank, three, and thanks, that is specific. If you say, I will practice speaking for 1 minute without stopping, that is specific. If you say, I will practice using 5 new phrases in sentences, that is specific too. Specific practice is stronger because your attention is clear. Attention is very important. If your mind is not present, your practice becomes weaker. You may spend 1 hour with English, but if your attention is not there, the result may be small. You may spend 15 minutes with deep attention, and the result may be better. So, we need focused practice. Focused practice means you are awake. You listen carefully. You notice mistakes. You try again. You compare your speech with a model. You ask, what can I improve? You do not practice like a machine. You practice like a learner. The book also says that good practice needs feedback. Feedback means information about your performance. It tells you what is working and what is not working. Without feedback, it is hard to improve because you may not see your mistakes. A piano student needs a teacher to say, "Your rhythm is not steady." A tennis player needs a coach to say, "Your movement is late." An English learner may need a teacher, a recording, a native speaker, or a careful comparison to notice problems. But feedback does not always need to come from another person. Sometimes you can give yourself feedback. For example, record your voice. Listen again. Ask yourself, was my pronunciation clear? Did I pause too much? Did I use the right words? Did my sentence sound natural? Then try again. This is very useful for English learners. Many learners never listen to their own voice. They speak, feel embarrassed, and stop. But if you listen carefully, you can improve. Your recording is not there to shame you. It is there to help you. Feedback is information, not punishment. Now, let's repeat that. Feedback is information, not punishment. Another part of purposeful practice is pushing yourself a little beyond your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is the area where things feel easy and safe. If you stay only there, you may not grow much. But if you go too far, you may feel lost and frustrated. You may feel disappointed. The best practice is a little difficult, but not impossible. For English, this means choosing material that is understandable, but still has something new. If a podcast is too easy, you may enjoy it, but you may not grow much. If it is too hard, you may feel lost. The best level is where you understand most of it, but still meet new phrases, new sounds, or new sentence patterns. This is why A2 and B1 learners need clear, slow, meaningful input. Not baby English, not extremely difficult English, just rich, comprehensible English with useful repetition. When practice is too easy, you become comfortable. When practice is too hard, you become discouraged. When practice is just a little difficult, you grow. The book also explains that improvement often needs leaving automatic mode. Automatic mode means doing things without thinking. Once you can do something well enough, your brain wants to save energy. It makes the action automatic. This is useful for daily life, but it can stop improvement. It can stop learning. For example, after you can have simple English conversations, you may stop improving because you use the same sentences again and again. You say the same basic things. You avoid difficult grammar. You avoid new vocabulary. You stay comfortable. You can communicate, but you do not move. To improve, you must return to focused practice. Choose one weak area, maybe pronunciation, maybe storytelling, maybe answering questions, maybe using past tense, maybe using more natural phrases. Then practice that area deliberately. This is how you break a plateau. A plateau is a time when you stop improving. You are practicing, but your level feels the same. This happens to many learners. It can feel frustrating, but a plateau is not the end. It is a sign that your old practice method may not be enough anymore. You need a new kind of practice, more focused, more specific, more feedback, and more challenge. For example, if your listening is stuck, do not only listen to more difficult videos. Try repeated listening. Listen to the same short part 3 times. First, understand the main idea. Second, notice phrases. Third, shadow the sentences. This is more active. If your speaking is stuck, do not only wait for conversation. Practice answers alone. Use common questions. Record yourself. Improve one answer. Speak again. If your vocabulary is stuck, do not only memorize lists. Learn words in sentences. Use each word in your own example. Review it later. Say it aloud. This is purposeful practice. So, the lesson of this part of the book is simple. Practice is not just repetition. Good practice has a clear purpose. It has focus. It has feedback. It pushes you a little beyond comfort. It works on specific weaknesses. Do not only practice more, practice better. This is one of the biggest lessons from Peak. All right, now we come to one of the most important ideas in the book: deliberate practice. What is deliberate practice? Deliberate practice is the special kind of practice that helps people become experts. It is not casual practice. It is not just doing something for fun. It is not just repeating what you already know. Deliberate practice is careful, focused, and difficult in the right way. The word deliberate means intentional. Intentional means you know what you are doing and why. You have a clear purpose. You're not just passing time. You are training. In deliberate practice, you choose a specific skill. You try to improve it. You get feedback. You correct your mistakes. You repeat. You continue until the skill becomes better. This kind of practice is often not easy. It can be tiring. It needs attention. It may not feel relaxing. But it works because it forces the brain and body to adapt. To adapt means to change, to become better for a situation. For example, imagine a piano student. They do not only play a whole song from beginning to the end. They choose one difficult part, maybe only 3 seconds of music. They play it slowly. They listen. They correct the movement. They play it again. They get feedback from a teacher. They repeat until the difficult part becomes better. This may not look exciting, but it creates skill. Now imagine an English learner. They do not only watch a long movie and hope to improve. They choose one useful dialogue. They listen to it. They repeat the sentences. They notice pronunciation. They practice the rhythm. They record their voice. They compare, and they repeat again. This is closer to deliberate practice. So, a big lesson from the book is that experts practice things they cannot do well yet. They do not spend all their time showing what they can already do. They work on the edge of their ability. The edge of your ability means the place where you can almost do something, but not easily yet. This place is important. It is where growth happens. If something is too easy, you are not pushed. If something is too hard, you are lost. But if something is just beyond your current level, your brain must grow. For English learners, this means you need practice that is a little challenging. If you can speak for 30 seconds, try 45 seconds. If you can answer simple questions, try giving a reason. If you can use present tense, practice past tense. If you can understand slow English, try natural but clear English. Small challenge, not huge challenge. Another important part of deliberate practice is having a clear model. A model is an example of good performance. If you want to improve pronunciation, you need to hear good pronunciation. If you want to improve writing, you need to read good writing. If you want to improve speaking, you need examples of clear speaking. Without a model, you may not know what you are aiming for. In English Unleashed, the podcast can become a model. You hear clear sentences. You hear repeated phrases. You hear simple structure. You hear how ideas connect. Then you can copy. Copying is not bad at the beginning. Copying helps your brain learn patterns. Deliberate practice also needs feedback from someone who knows the skill. A teacher or coach can see problems quickly. This is why teachers are important. A good teacher does not only say, "Good job." A good teacher shows you the next step. They say, "This is the weak part. Try this method. Slow down. Repeat this. Focus on this sound. Use this phrase instead." Feedback can feel uncomfortable, but it saves time. Without feedback, you may practice the wrong thing for months. With feedback, you can correct the problem earlier. For English, feedback can come from a teacher, an app, a language partner, or even your own recording. But remember, feedback must lead to action. If someone corrects you, do not only say, "Okay." Practice the correction. Repeat it. Use it. Make it part of your speech. Deliberate practice is not only knowing your mistake, it is fixing your mistake through repetition. This is important. Another point from the book is that deliberate practice can feel mentally demanding. Mentally demanding means it uses a lot of brain energy. Experts do not practice with deep focus for endless hours. They need rest too, because real practice takes attention. So, do not think you must practice English with deep focus for 5 hours every day. That may be too much. A short, focused session can be powerful. For example, 15 minutes of real shadowing with attention and repetition can be useful. 10 minutes of focused pronunciation practice can help. 20 minutes of careful listening can train your ear. Quality matters. This does not mean long exposure is useless. Listening for pleasure is also helpful. Watching videos, hearing podcasts, reading stories, these all give language input. But when you want to improve a specific skill, use deliberate practice. For example, use easy listening for general growth. Use deliberate practice for specific improvement. Both are useful. They do different jobs. The book also warns us that deliberate practice is not always fun in the normal way. It may not feel like entertainment, but it can become satisfying. Satisfying means it gives a deep, good feeling. You feel, I'm improving. I solved the problem. This part is better than yesterday. That feeling is powerful. For example, when you finally pronounce a word more clearly, you feel proud. When you answer a question more smoothly, you feel progress. When you understand a sentence that was difficult before, you feel happy. This is the joy of improvement. So the message of this part of the book is this. Deliberate practice is focused, specific, challenging, and connected to feedback. It is the practice that builds real skill. It is not always easy, but it works. If you want to become better at English, choose one small area. Practice it carefully. Get feedback. Repeat. Improve. Then choose the next area. This is how skill grows. All right, now let's talk about a very important idea from the book. Mental representations. This phrase may sound difficult, but the idea is very simple. A mental representation is like a picture or map inside your mind. It helps you understand something. It helps you know what to do. It helps you see patterns. Experts have better mental representations than beginners. A beginner sees separate details. An expert sees the whole picture. A beginner often feels lost. An expert knows what matters. A beginner may need to think about every small step. An expert can understand quickly because their inner map is strong. Let's use a simple example. Imagine a chessboard. A beginner sees many pieces. They may think, this piece is here, that piece is there. But an expert chess player sees patterns. They see danger. They see possibilities. They see plans. They understand the position quickly because they have seen many similar patterns before. Now think about English listening. A beginner hears a stream of sounds. It may feel too fast. They hear something like noise, but a stronger learner hears chunks. A chunk is a group of words that often go together. For example, I don't think so. Let me think. I'm not sure. That makes sense. A beginner may hear separate words, but an experienced learner hears these as whole phrases. That is a better mental representation. The more useful patterns you have in your mind, the easier English becomes. This is why learning phrases is so powerful. Do not only learn single words, learn words inside sentences, learn chunks, learn common structures. These become part of your inner map. For example, instead of learning only the word improve, learn, I want to improve my English. My listening has improved a lot. This habit helps me improve. Now the word is connected to real use. Your mind knows where it belongs. Mental representations also help with speaking. If you have no structure in your mind, speaking feels hard. You think, what should I say first? What should I say next? But if you know simple structures, your mind has a map. The book explains that deliberate practice builds and improves maps. As your mental map becomes better, your performance becomes better. And as your performance improves, your mental map becomes even stronger. They grow together. Practice builds the map. The map guides practice. This is a beautiful cycle. For English learners, this means every useful sentence you learn can improve your map. Every time you listen carefully, you improve your map. Every time you compare your pronunciation with a model, you improve your map. Every time you speak and correct yourself, you improve your map. Your brain is not empty. It is building a system. At first, the system is simple. Later, it becomes rich. This is why repetition matters so much. You need to meet patterns many times. One time is not enough. If you hear a phrase once, you may forget it. If you hear it 10 times, it becomes familiar. If you use it in your own speech, it becomes stronger. If you hear it in different situations, it becomes part of your map. All right, now let's talk about talent. Talent is one of the most common ideas people talk about when they talk about success. They say, she is talented. He has a gift. That person was born for this. Sometimes this is true in a small way. People are different. Some people may start faster. Some people may have a good ear for music. Some people may have a strong memory. Some people may learn movement quickly. But the book explains that talent is often misunderstood. We often see the final result, but we do not see the years of practice behind it. We see a great musician on stage, but we do not see the slow practice. We see a fluent speaker, but we do not see the hours of listening and speaking. We see an athlete win, but we do not see the training. We see a successful creator, but we do not see the failed attempts. When we only see the result, we say talent, but the real story is usually much longer. This is important because the idea of talent can become dangerous. If you believe everything is talent, you may stop trying. You may say, I'm not talented at English. I'm not good at speaking. I do not have a language brain. These sentences can become walls. They stop you before you begin. But if you believe skill can be built, you act differently. You say, I'm not good yet. This word yet is very powerful. I'm not fluent yet. I cannot understand fast English yet. I cannot speak confidently yet. I do not know enough vocabulary yet. Yet means the story is not finished. The book also discusses the famous idea of 10,000 hours. Many people heard that you need 10,000 hours to become an expert. But the book explains that the number alone is not the main point. It is not simply about counting hours. 10,000 hours of weak practice will not create the same result as many hours of deliberate practice. The quality of practice matters. Hours matter, yes. Time matters. You cannot become an expert in one day. But the way you use the hours matters even more. Are you focused? Are you getting feedback? Are you improving weaknesses? Are you pushing your ability? Are you building better mental maps? This is the real question. For English learners, this means that studying for many years does not always create fluency. Many people study English at school for years, but they still cannot speak comfortably. Why? Maybe because they did not get enough speaking practice. Maybe they memorized grammar but did not use the language. Maybe they did not get enough listening input. Maybe they were afraid of mistakes. Maybe their practice was not deliberate. This does not mean those years were useless. No. They may have built some knowledge. But to become a strong speaker, you need the right kind of practice. You need listening. You need speaking. You need repetition. You need feedback. You need vocabulary in context. You need useful phrases. You need real communication. Another key idea in the book is effort. Effort means trying with energy and attention. But effort must be smart. Hard work is important, yes, but hard work without direction can waste time. If you work very hard on the wrong thing, you may not get the result you want. For example, if your goal is speaking, but you only do grammar exercises silently, your speaking may not improve enough. Grammar helps, but speaking needs speaking. So, match your practice to your purpose. This is very simple, but many learners forget it. If you want to speak, speak. If you want to listen better, listen. If you want to write, write. If you want pronunciation, practice sounds and rhythm. If you want vocabulary, use words in sentences. Effort becomes powerful when it is connected to the right practice. The book gives us a hopeful view of human ability. It says that people can often improve much more than they think. The brain and body can adapt. Skills can grow. Limits are sometimes not fixed. They are often training problems. Of course, this does not mean everyone can become the best in the world at everything. No. People have different bodies, different time, different resources, different teachers, different starting points. But most people can become much better than they are now. That is the important message. You may not become the best English speaker in the world, but you can become much better than your current level. You can understand more. You can speak more clearly. You can feel more comfortable. You can build stronger habits. You can improve your pronunciation. You can learn to express your ideas. That is enough to begin. Another problem with talent is that praise for talent can make people afraid. If someone says, "You are so smart," you may become afraid of looking not smart. You may avoid hard tasks because mistakes threaten your identity. But if someone praises effort, strategy, and improvement, you learn that difficulty is normal. So instead of saying to yourself, "I am talented," or "I'm not talented," say, "I am practicing. I am improving. I am learning how to learn. I can get better with the right method." This kind of language supports growth. For English learners, when you make a mistake, do not say, "I have no talent." Say, this is a practice point. When you do not understand a fast sentence, do not say, my listening is terrible. Say, I need more repeated listening. When you forget a word, do not say, my memory is bad. Say, I need to use this word in more sentences. Change the story. The book shows that excellence is not a mystery. It is not only a gift, it is a process. It is built through years of good practice, feedback, challenge, and strong mental representations, strong mental maps. So, the lesson of this part of the book is this: do not worship talent. Respect practice. Respect effort. Respect good methods. Respect patience. Talent may open a door, but deliberate practice helps you walk through it. All right, now let's talk about teachers and feedback. In this book, one important message is that people often improve faster when they have good guidance. A good teacher, coach, or mentor can help you practice in the right way. They can see what you cannot see. They can correct mistakes. They can choose exercises. They can push you a little beyond your comfort zone. This is important because beginners often do not know what to practice. They may feel that everything is difficult. They may practice the wrong thing, or they may practice only the things they already like. A good teacher says, focus here. This saves time. For example, an English learner may say, I need more vocabulary. But a teacher may notice that the real problem is not vocabulary. Maybe the learner knows many words, but cannot use them quickly. So the teacher says, let's practice sentence patterns. Or maybe the learner says, my grammar is bad. But the teacher notices that pronunciation is the main problem in communication. So they focus on sounds and stress. Feedback helps you see the real problem. This is why expert guidance can be powerful. But a teacher is not a magician. A teacher cannot improve for you. A teacher can guide, but you must practice. A teacher can correct, but you must repeat. A teacher can show the path, but you must walk. This is a very important balance. Do not expect a teacher to do the work for you, but also do not think you must do everything alone. Good guidance plus serious practice creates strong results. For English learners, you can use many kinds of feedback. A teacher can give you feedback. A language partner can give feedback. A recording can give feedback. A transcript can give feedback. Even subtitles can help you check what you missed. For example, listen to a short audio without subtitles. Try to write what you hear. Then check the transcript. What words did you miss? What sounds were unclear? What phrases were too fast? Now listen again. This is feedback. Here is another example. Record yourself answering a question. Then listen again. Did you speak clearly? Did you use the right tense? Did you repeat too much? Did you stop too often? Choose one thing to improve. Then answer again. This is feedback. Specific feedback shows the next step. If feedback is too general, ask, what exactly should I improve? Can you give me one example? What should I practice next? This turns feedback into action. The book also explains that experts need teachers too, especially during training. Even very talented people benefit from coaches. Why? Because when you are inside your own performance, you cannot always see clearly. Someone outside can see details. A pianist may not hear that their rhythm is slightly uneven. A speaker may not notice that they speak too fast. A language learner may not hear that a sound is unclear. A writer may not see that a paragraph is confusing. Feedback gives another view. But feedback can be emotional. Sometimes it hurts. When someone says, "This needs improvement," we may feel embarrassed. We may feel defensive. We may think, "I'm not good enough." This is normal. But we need to learn to separate feedback from identity. Feedback about your skill is not a judgment of your value. And this mindset is very important. A strong learner receives feedback and uses it. They may feel uncomfortable, but they do not collapse. Collapse means fall down emotionally. They say, "Okay, this is useful. I know what to practice." For English, feedback can become a plan. If the feedback says you pause too much, practice short answers every day. If the feedback says your pronunciation is unclear, practice shadowing. If the feedback says you translate too much, learn more phrases and chunks. If the feedback says your answers are too short, provide giving reasons and examples. So feedback gives direction. Another idea is that you should not practice everything at once. If you receive too much feedback, choose 1 or 2 points. Practice those. When they improve, move to the next. Too much correction at the same time can feel heavy. Small focused improvement is better than trying to fix everything immediately. For example, this week you focus on sentence stress. Next week, you focus on past tense storytelling. The next week, you focus on giving example. This is manageable. Manageable means you can handle it. A good teacher also helps you design practice. They do not only explain, they give exercises that stretch your ability. Stretch means push gently. Not too easy, not impossible, just challenging enough. For self-study learners, you can design your own practice too. Choose a model. Choose a small part. Repeat, record, compare, correct, and then repeat again. This simple cycle is very powerful. Model, practice, feedback, correction, repeat. Use this cycle again and again. So, the message of this part is clear. Feedback helps you improve faster. Teachers and coaches can guide you, but you must use the feedback through practice. Do not fear correction. Correction is part of growth. A mistake shows you the next exercise. Feedback shows you the next step. And the next step is where improvement begins. All right, now let's bring everything together. This book is about how people become excellent. It teaches us that expertise is not just talent. It is not just time. It is not just doing something again and again. Expertise comes from the right kind of practice. This is an encouraging message. It means you can improve more than you think. Your current level is not your final level. Your current English is not your final English. Your current speaking ability is not your final speaking ability. Your current confidence is not your final confidence. You can grow, but growth needs a method. So, the first lesson is that normal practice is not enough after a certain point. If you only repeat what is easy, you may stay at the same level. To improve, you need focused practice. You need to choose a specific skill. You need to work on the weak parts. You need to try. You need to get feedback. You need to correct and repeat. This is deliberate practice. The second lesson is that improvement happens near the edge of your ability. Not too easy, not too hard, just a little difficult. That is the place where your brain works. That is the place where your skills grow. For English learners, this means you should choose practice that challenges you gently. If speaking for 1 minute is easy, speak for 2 minutes. If you can understand slow English, try slightly more natural English. If you know simple answers, practice giving examples. If you know single words, practice full phrases. The third lesson is that experts have better mental maps. They have stronger inner maps. These maps help them understand quickly and perform better. The next lesson is that improvement takes time. It takes attention. Deliberate practice is not always easy. It can be tiring. It needs focus. But even short practice sessions can create progress if you repeat them regularly. If you want better listening, do not only listen once. Choose a short audio. Listen several times. First, understand the general meaning. Second, notice phrases. Third, check difficult parts. Fourth, shadow the sentences. This is better than jumping from one video to another without focus. All right, thank you so much for listening to English Unleashed. I hope this episode helped you understand the main ideas of peak in easy English. Listen again if you can. The first time, understand the main message. The second time, notice useful vocabulary. The third time, shadow the sentences and practice speaking. Until next time, keep listening, keep repeating, and keep practicing deliberately. Bye for now.